everyone. Welcome back to the Awesome Life Podcast. I'm Karen Stultz, your host, and I am here with another awesome guest. And I say it every week. My guests are the best in the world, and today is no exception. Lori Osborne. She's the founder and the chief solution architect for BizBolster Web Solutions. And I don't know about you, we all need web solutions. She actually specializes in increasing sales for small businesses through custom websites and pre-built website packages. And she works with professional coaches, SEO services, reputation management, and a whole lot more. Lori has 30 plus years in small business and information technology. Her experience has been as a small business owner, get your mouth working, Karen, for 15 plus years, and she is married to the love of her life, and I love that. She lives in Florida with their two adorable fur babies. I love fur babies too. They're so awesome. So welcome, Lori. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, me too. So, I actually created the computerized. I computerized our town, and I was really, really good. This is way back in the days of DOS. Howsoever, it's gotten to the point where I don't even want to think about a website. And I had my website under construction for like 2 years.
Oh gosh.
And maybe even more. I don't know. I just gave up on it altogether. But Lori, this is your passion. Tell me the story. How did this all occur?
I would love to share my story.
We've been sitting here laughing.
So I will just jump in. So in 2015, I was a project manager for a small technology company in Denver, Colorado. And in August of that year, I found out I had a meningioma brain tumor, which is, it's a benign, 97% of the time they're benign, but it is like in my pituitary and it is part of my carotid artery. So it is likely not going anywhere. But they did want to do surgery to try to reduce it as much as possible. It was causing my eye to droop. So they were wanting to get it off my optical nerve. So I had a couple of surgeries, went through radiation. And at that point, I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to be able to work again. I was, my speech was impacted. I was in a ton of pain, had a lot of headache pain. I wasn't really able to deal with stress very well. And during the second surgery, during the first surgery, they nicked the carotid. Debris broke off, caused my left eye to go mostly blind. So I was also seeing double vision for like a year and a half.
Oh,
so basically,
so much.
it was a pretty crappy time in my life, I will admit.
Yeah.
But I realized really quickly that I was not going to go back to high stress project management, at least not anytime soon. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to work again. So I'm not the type to just sit around and do nothing and watch TV, even though my husband kept telling me to take it easy. So I really just spent some time going, okay, what can I do? What can I do to stay busy? And what can I do to maybe earn income when I'm able to do, some work? And I honestly, I wanted to build a website about what was going on. I had just lost my mother to cancer at 63. I lost my grandmother to cancer at 63. So I was really, my mind was on my health between the tumor and that. So I started a website called Health Nut Like Grandma, because my grandma was a health nut. And I fell in love. I mean, I just instantly, I have always been creative at home, but I'd never been creative in my work. I had always been analytical, project management, testing, documentation, just the facts, ma'am, and never creative. But I was very creative at home. And I'm like, oh my God, this is something that I can do where I can use both sides of my brain and I can be creative and analytical, use both sets of skills. So I started just building websites and took the time that I had to learn and started developing those skills and then digging more into marketing because I really, I didn't want to just build websites to sit there. I wanted them to do something for people. And I realized small businesses really didn't understand how to build a website or get a website that actually works for them. And so that was my goal. I wanted to learn how to build good quality websites that also accomplish something and worked for you. So that's what I did. I started learning that and moved to Florida in 2017, found some great help for my pain and said, let's do this, and kind of took off, and that's where we're at. And it's been fabulous.
That is fantastic. I've always wondered though, what makes a website work for you? How do you make a website work for you? What does that mean?
There's several things to it. First, you have to think of it as a marketing tool. So everything that we know about marketing, knowing your audience, knowing your avatar, your ideal client, and setting up that website to speak to that person, their language, their colors, their words. It's also, so many times the websites are just, hey, look at me and come buy my stuff.
Yeah.
Well, number one, people care about themselves. That's just human nature. So if you go by the philosophy, what's in it for me, WIFM, best radio station out there, then that's how the website should be. When someone goes to the website, they want to know what's in it for me. What are you providing that I need? How are you going to solve my problems? So it's a lot about language as well, speaking their language to them. Here is how I'm going to help you. So that's one thing. Two is taking the emphasis off of yourself. So like the About Me is the least important page on the website and should not be front and center. And the About Me, when it's there, should not just be a list of credentials. It should be about you in terms of who are you? Like on my website, I even have a whole section on my values and what I find as are qualities of an ideal client. Do you want to work with me? Are you this type of person that I work best with, so that we know that we're good partners? Because it's, not everybody's going to want to work with me, and not everybody's going to want to work with you, with everybody out there. So it's that as well. And then it's having an opt-in that provides value, providing something to someone that is your ideal client that they would actually want, that they would want to go to your website and download so you can start building the relationship. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We want to build websites that build relationships, build the know, like, and trust, and aren't, people ask me about how to convert on their website.
Yeah.
I don't even worry about conversions on the websites, because that's like asking someone to marry you when you're still on your first date. No one's going to go to your website and spend $1,000 if they've never met you, unless they are going to your website to buy the $1,000 item. And that's why they're there, which is not how most small businesses are. We're there to build a relationship, and then the conversion comes after that. So it's not, it's thinking about it as a relationship builder, not a shop or a sales tool. It's a long-term sales tool, if that makes sense.
So yeah, definitely. I understand that. It sounds like, do you also kind of coach and help with the copy? Or is that something that you just suggest they find somebody else for? Or because that's the one thing. I will build your website, but I'm not going to help you with any of the writing or what is going to
Right.
benefit you. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's, I tweak a lot, and I definitely work with clients, right off the bat. I'm talking to them about who is your ideal client. What is your brand? What do you stand for? And I try to get to know my clients before we jump into building the website. A lot of times between the two of us, we handle the copy. If I really feel like they're struggling and they really need someone to do their copy, then I have people that I recommend that they go to. For the most part, I don't usually have to do that. I usually just coach them through and help build that identity with them.
That's a huge part for people who are looking for a website, or maybe even considering building a website for other people going into similar businesses. And here on Awesome Life podcast, we have people from all walks of life that have built very, very successful businesses. And that's what we want you to be able to, as our listeners, be able to understand that what the possibilities are, what the resources are, and who you might like to turn to. And that's why I love Lori. I just love Lori because she's so easy. It's so much fun. You can see how much fun she is. Look at her glasses. I love it. Oh, and by the way, if you're listening on the podcast, obviously you can't see your glasses. So come on over to.
Looks like my background dropped behind me too. I just realized.
It's still very
well,
attractive.
That's embarrassing.
It's still very attractive. But come on over to the conversations on YouTube to see this lovely lady and the fun that we're having together and her backdrop dropping.
We just hung it on the wall this weekend, or on the ceiling. And I guess I'm still working on the best way to adhere it to the thing. And clearly this isn't the right way. Oh, well, you got to go with the flow, right?
Well, that's it. You gotta enjoy what you're doing, whatever it is. And it sounds like through all that horrendous stuff that you went through, you really have been able to learn to go with the flow, to find your passion, to make a difference. And with so many things that you could have found your passion with, why websites?
I love technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I know so many people don't. It's funny, throughout my entire career, I have always done things that most people don't like doing, which, I don't know, makes me unique and very marketable, I guess. But, throughout it's funny, I was just talking to someone about this morning. She's like, because I say, I always wish I would have discovered this 20 years ago. And she said, well, don't you think that your background led to this? And I hadn't really thought about it that way. But my entire career, I have been a technical person working with business people and explaining technical information in a layman's way for regular people to understand. And that's everything I've done. That was the biggest part of it. So, that's a skill I use every day in this. And everything I've done in technology, I've loved. It's just, I hadn't discovered the creative piece. And I think, that it's just that joy of building something that makes such a huge difference for businesses that I also just, I've never had something where I could literally spend 4 hours doing and didn't even know 4 hours just went by. I look up and go, holy cow, oh my gosh, it's, 4 hours have passed. But it's just, it does not feel like work to me. It just feels like I get to play. I really get to just, let me put this here and see what happens with this. And let me put this here and see what happens. Let's try this, And the other thing is, I really wanted to make sure that I was continuing to learn, because I didn't know what was going to happen to my brain with all of this. And you know, I also am on a lot of medications that, like gabapentin, for example, causes, let's see, my memory, causes the memory problem that people have in later life. Oh my gosh, totally.
Oh, really? That thing? I've
That
had
thing that I cannot think of.
my whole
Oh
life.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I felt like it was
Dementia.
really important.
Thanks.
Thank you. Very important that I continue learning. And I look for opportunities to learn new things and find new ways of doing things. And, like the last 2 years, I've been heavily focused on SEO, which is a whole new world of, beyond web development. But it means, and to do SEO, you have to constantly learn because it's always changing. So that was the other part of it, was like, oh, here's something that I'd worked with websites before. I'd tested them and project managed them, but I hadn't developed them. So here's something I get to do that uses these skills that I totally enjoy, and I get to keep learning and get better and better. And, I just, that's why I love it. I just don't know how else to put it. I love it.
I can hear that in you. And it's such a joy when you find that passion fulfilled in doing something. And that's exactly what it is, guys, is recognizing that, hey, I've sat here for 4 hours and I've had an awesome time and I've accomplished something. It isn't like scrolling through Facebook feeds
Right.
or responding to emails, which is wonderful, but time consuming and not necessarily productive.
Right.
So when you are able to go through something and say, oh my gosh, another day, I look at my clock and say, wow, it's 6 o'clock already. And I have my boundaries. I don't know about you. Do you set your boundaries? So at 6 o'clock, well,
I'm not very good at boundaries.
well,
my boundaries are kind of when my body says you better stop. That's what I try to listen to.
As long as you become aware of what your body is telling you, that's the big thing. And
Yes.
don't keep pushing it beyond that point. But come 6 o'clock, I just say, you know what, this is my time with my husband. Now, with that said, boundaries can be tweaked. So you can have both.
Right.
You can be, I take my computer down and have my earphones near me, like on my neck and one up on my ear, while watching something with my husband. So I'm kind of both
I love it.
at the same time and saying, all right, well, I'm learning, I'm doing, all right, I'm taking care of business.
And I'm with my husband.
And I'm with my husband, and I'm enjoying his company. But 6 o'clock is generally my cutoff time. I don't do too much after that, except, well, I'm on a TV show at 7. But other than that, no, that's about it.
My problem is my peak productivity time is like 4 to 7.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's when I really do my best work. So I usually, and I have a wonderful husband that works till 6 and loves to cook. Thank goodness, because I don't. So he usually cooks and we plan to eat around 7. And it works out great because that for, sometimes I have meetings and I have coaching during that time, but it's a great, that's like when I prefer to do the most productive things that I need to do in the day.
And that is key too, because we all have different high points. It's so when you recognize when you are the most productive, that's when you got to work. I know, except for my fun conversations here on YouTube and on the podcast. Yeah, it's tough. My head is downward spiraling by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I just want to enjoy myself from here on out.
Right. I get it. And like I said, we're all different, Years ago, I used to be a morning person. I don't know what happened. I am no longer a morning person.
And you know what? It's all good. It's wonderful, as a matter of fact, because that's what makes us unique and so able to take care of different people at different levels. I absolutely love that. Oh, remind us, what is SEO?
SEO is search engine optimization. So in basic terms, it's the tools that we put in place for Google, the main search engine, to find your website when someone's searching. So our goal is to get you as close to the top of those search responses as possible. Can't always get to the very top, but let's at least, try to get to that page one when someone's searching for your skills.
So can you give any tips on what one would need to get to that first page?
Yeah. So there's a few things. I mean, the very first thing is understanding some basics of SEO before the website is even built. And a tip I would give there is, whoever you have do your website, make sure they have some understanding of SEO, because it's not common for the two to always go together, because there's such different skills and SEO is so in depth. A lot of web developers have no clue. And I didn't have a clue 2 years ago. So, I totally get it. But there are some basics that need to be followed with how you do headings and how you set up your information in the back end for describing your images and, those types of things. The other thing is some of the really top things that I see a lot. Make sure you have your security certificate, your SSL. And the way you know that is, does it start with HTTPS? It's usually WordPress clients that don't have that, because it's separate and not everybody purchases it. Mm-hmm. So it's not negotiable. Google will flag your account and it will reduce people going to your website. And honestly, it's getting to the point where even tools for like Malwarebytes and the different things for, boy, I am really struggling with words today. Viruses, virus protection is blocking a lot of sites these days. So, I mean, if you don't have a certificate, some people may not even be able to access your website, and that's not good. Other things, mobile readiness. Some sites, when you develop, automatically do the mobile side. I will mention Squarespace specifically. I actually started in Squarespace. I loved it. But then I discovered other tools that allowed me to do more. And as I've been developing my SEO skills, I've learned that Squarespace and SEO are not compatible. Squarespace did not build their platform, clearly did not build their platform with SEO in mind, because there's a lot of it. Like, every time we run a report on a Squarespace site, we know what to expect. We know and if you have a Squarespace site, you probably get an email on a regular basis that says your mobile is not looking right to Google. And that's one of the problems that they run into. So mobile is really important.
And when you say mobile, that your site works and is seen well on a phone or something.
In the boundaries, there's nothing coming off the screen. People
you don't have to scroll through.
Yeah. And the other huge thing and a lot of this came out last May, Google did massive updates to their algorithms and, told the world what they were doing. But pop-ups are another thing. I strongly discourage pop-ups, because Google doesn't like them, because they block data. Yeah. And you don't. So on that opt-in that I mentioned, build it into your site. Don't do a pop-up. So those are kind of some top.
Build it into your site. Don't do a pop-up. Oh, the information that's in the pop-up. Okay.
Yeah. So like what I suggest is you have it right there, front and center, top of your page, your opt-in, and you can do, you're going to have an opt-in option. So you're either going to build that in there and then go to a different screen, usually a landing page, and then a thank you page is how I do it. But as opposed to that pop-up taking the information and then going to it. And then you can do a download or an email, whatever works. You can have pop-ups like once they're when they're expecting it. Like I do pop-ups for signups, but they've clicked the button to get it.
Yeah.
It's not just getting in their face and interrupting. It's all about user friendliness and making it as easy for the user as possible. And if there's something popping up in front of them when they're reading something, that is not user friendly. that is a turn off.
You know what? You and I totally agree on that. And I've heard so many business people saying, hey, a pop-up is the way to go. I have increased my email list dramatically when I started adding pop-ups. And then I thought, well, I kind of hate it myself, so I didn't do that. But then I noticed some people have it immediately and some people have it after 30 seconds and things like that. Does that make any difference with the SEO having? No.
I mean, Google specifically says no pop-ups.
No pop-ups.
So it's just not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And Google is 97% of the traffic out there. So you want to do everything you can to make Google happy.
That's right. Let's make Google happy, because that's how you're going to get to the top level here too.
That's right.
Yes. That's where the majority is. I love it. I love it. So how can people get in touch with you, Lori? Because you are remarkable and I love what you're doing and you're so much fun. And I know not just coaches need someone like you, but how can they get in touch with you?
So I've got my website up there, bizbolster.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me, because you can go out there and you can click on Let's Chat and set up a free breakthrough session call, or you can email me and it's Lori@bizbolster.com, Lori. You can also, on my website, there is an SEO download if you're interested in more information that we talked about with the SEO. And I will mention specifically for coaches, I do have a coaches page just for you. One thing I'd love to mention is I have developed packages specific to professional coaches.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah. And when I say that, I started this with another industry and it was so successful, we decided to carry it over into the coaching. And so they're pre-built sites, meaning when you say I'm interested, it's very easy for my team to update the logo, the colors, and the wording without changing the format. So it's because of that, I can sell them very inexpensively. I'm going to say cheap, but they're not cheap. They're inexpensive. They're affordable.
Exactly.
And we have 3 different levels in 3 different ways. There are really 9 options. So you can have a done for you, done with you, or do it yourself at 3 different levels of websites. And SEO is also changing with those 3 different levels. So basically how much SEO you get is how much you want to invest. And it starts at $9.99 as the cheapest one done for you. So, I mean, it's very affordable to jump in and get a website today. Hosting is covered the first year. I mean, you basically, you are in for $9.99 and even less than that if you want to do it yourself or do it with you. So on the page that I'm going to give you, which is bizbolster.com and then coach dash giveaway. So bizbolster.com/coach dash giveaway. On that page, there's a guide for how to be seen, SEO and website tips specifically for professional coaches. There is also a free SEO analysis if you already have a website and you want to know what you could do to make it better. And then on that page are also the description of the packages. Wow,
that is fantastic and very reasonable. Oh my gosh, I should say that's very reasonable. Well, I'm loving this. And by the way, all of these links will be in the show notes below. And so be sure to click on that, contact Lori, just have a conversation with her. As you can see, she's a great, fun person. And the thing that I know about Lori is she'll be honest with you. And you know, we all need that extra help. And if you are creative, think about, and I'm not looking for competition, but learning what you can do. If Lori can do this, I think this is so inspirational, your story and moving ahead and being able to handle a situation, a stressful situation in beautiful Florida where it's nice and warm.
And there's a beautiful ocean.
And you are
Most importantly.
very close to the beach, if not on the beach. I love that as well. So any last words before we go? Any tips or thoughts?
I think just, just remember again that any marketing, especially websites, is relationship building. So you want to build know, like, and trust because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So be thinking about that and get away from thinking, how can I get someone to buy something on my website? Think, how can I get someone to come to my website, stick around, get to know me better, and us build a relationship so that eventually that prospect will be your client.
I love it. And it's so true. It's all about know, like, and trust. And that's what we have here on the Awesome Life podcast. So again, thank you so much for joining us, Lori. And I will put all of her information in the show notes. And do be sure to come over to the YouTube link, see what we've been laughing and giggling about throughout this whole time, and be sure to also subscribe and click the little notification button on YouTube so you don't miss any of the awesome guests on the Awesome Life podcast. So until next time, be awesome.